They want you distracted. They want you calm. They want you to believe everything happening in WWE right now is just booking. But what if I told you this week wasn't entertainment at all? It was a declaration of war? Because the moment Oba Femi laid out Drew McIntyre, the locker room shifted. And if you think that attack was random, you haven't been paying attention. Drew McIntyre, the man who clawed his way back to relevance, the man who carries himself like WWE owes him, was blindsided by Oba Femi with the kind of aggression you don't see from someone just trying to make a name. No hesitation, no respect, just pure dominance. Almost like Oba was sending a message not just to Drew, but to everyone. Here's the real question. Was Oba Femi protecting his future or claiming it? Because Drew didn't just get attacked, he got embarrassed. And Drew McIntyre does not forget humiliation. Do you think Drew retaliates brutally, or does this spark the most unexpected rivalry of the year? Drop your take in the comments. And while Drew is picking himself up off the mat, the WWE Universe was hit with something nobody saw coming. John Cena is back. No warning, no slow burn, just that music hitting and the entire arena losing its mind. But let's be honest, this wasn't a nostalgia pop. This wasn't a thank you tour. The look on Cena's face said something else entirely. Focused, serious, almost unfinished. Cena returning right now is not a coincidence. Not with chaos everywhere. Not with championships feeling unstable. Not with locker room egos running wild. So ask yourself this: why now? Is Cena here to save WWE or expose it? Because legends don't come back unless there's something to fight for or someone to shut up. And speaking of shutting doors, someone just slammed one in WWE's face. A major WWE contract was turned down. Let that sink in. In an era where people beg for a WWE deal, someone looked at the offer, looked at the machine, and said, no, that's not confidence, that's defiance. That's someone betting on themselves instead of the system. So what does WWE do when talent stops chasing them? Do they panic or do they retaliate? This might be the most dangerous trend WWE has faced in years, and nobody's talking about it enough. But the most personal war? That's still brewing. Because CM Punk has his sights locked on Seth Rollins. This isn't about titles. This isn't about main events. This is about history, ego, respect. Punk doesn't just want to beat Seth, he wants to dismantle everything Seth represents. And Seth knows it. Every laugh, every outfit, every promo, it's all armor. Because deep down, Seth Rollins knows CM Punk doesn't forget, and doesn't forgive. Who's telling the truth here, the rebel or the revolutionary? Because when Punk finally steps across from Seth, this won't be a match. It'll be a reckoning. So now I ask you, was Oba Femi right to attack Drew? Is John Cena back for one last run or one last fight? Who do you think turned down that WWE contract? And when CM Punk and Seth Rollins finally collide, who walks out broken? Comment, argue, share this with someone who thinks WWE is predictable. Because it's not. And this is only the beginning. Because if you think the storm has already peaked, you're dead wrong. This is the calm before WWE completely loses control of its own creation. Let's go back to Oba Femi for a second, because people are seriously underestimating what just happened. That wasn't a rookie mistake. That wasn't nerves. That was calculated violence. Oba didn't just pick Drew McIntyre because Drew was nearby, he picked him because Drew is symbolism. Drew represents the old guard that clawed, suffered and waited their turn. Oba represents the new breed that doesn't wait, they take. And that collision is inevitable. Here's what should scare you: Oba didn't flinch after the attack. No apology, no explanation. Almost like he's daring WWE to stop him. Do you think WWE pulls Oba back, or straps a rocket to him? Because if Drew McIntyre snaps and history says he will, that locker room won't survive the fallout. And while that tension simmers, John Cena's return keeps getting more suspicious by the day. Cena didn't grab a microphone to crack jokes. He didn't smile like a legend soaking in applause. He stood there like a man counting enemies. Like someone who's watched WWE drift into chaos and decided enough was enough. Let's be real, Cena returning shakes everyone. Champions, part-timers, politicians backstage. Because Cena is still power. And power returning always exposes weakness. Who do you think Cena is really watching from the shadows? Because whoever it is, they should be very worried. Now let's talk about that turned down WWE contract, because this is where things get ugly. WWE hates rejection. They thrive on being the final destination. So when someone walks away, that's not just business, that's an insult. And insults in WWE are never forgotten. This could change how contracts are offered. Who gets pushed? Who gets buried? Because when control slips, companies tighten their grip. Do you think WWE will make an example out of someone soon? And then there's CM Punk, circling Seth Rollins like a shark. This isn't a storyline built on hype, this is real resentment bleeding into fiction. Punk sees Seth as the embodiment of everything he fought against: corporate loyalty, manufactured rebellion, a company man pretending to be a revolutionary. And Seth knows Punk can strip him down to nothing with just words. If Punk beats Seth, does that validate everything Punk's ever said about WWE? Because this feud doesn't end with a bell ringing. It ends with reputations shattered. Everything happening right now feels connected, like WWE is standing on a fault line and one more shock could crack it wide open. So I'll ask you again, and don't answer lightly: who's really in control right now? Who benefits from the chaos? And who's about to lose everything? Sound off in the comments. Argue, debate, take sides. Because WWE isn't building stories anymore, they're lighting matches. And this fire? It's far from finished. And if you think WWE has a master plan for all of this, ask yourself one thing: why does everything feel like it's spiraling instead of aligning? Because chaos isn't accidental, it's provoked. Drew McIntyre hasn't spoken yet, and that silence should terrify you more than any promo. Drew is the type of man who doesn't bark, he swings. And when he does, somebody always pays in blood, momentum, or relevance. Oba Femi may have won the moment, but moments don't win wars. When Drew finally responds, does he destroy Oba, or does he elevate him by force? Because here's the truth no one wants to admit: Oba Femi just put himself on a hit list. And Drew McIntyre has never been merciful to people who disrespect his climb. Now let's zoom out, because John Cena's return is casting a massive shadow over everyone pretending not to notice. Cena's presence alone changes how people wrestle, talk, and politic backstage. You don't just coexist with John Cena, you either align with him or you oppose him. And WWE history tells us that when Cena plants his flag, someone's empire collapses. Is Cena here to pass the torch or take it back? Because the timing is unsettling. With locker room egos clashing, contracts being rejected, and Punk stirring the pot, Cena feels like the final authority entering a room that's already on fire. And let's not ignore something important: Cena hasn't said who he's here for, which means the target hasn't revealed itself yet. Meanwhile, that rejected WWE contract continues to echo louder every day. Wrestlers are watching, agents are whispering, and suddenly WWE isn't the only dream anymore, it's a negotiation table. And that terrifies them. If one person can say no, how many will follow? This is how power shifts start. Not with rebellion, with options. Now back to the feud that feels less scripted than any other: CM Punk vs Seth Rollins. Every stare down feels personal. Every line feels like a shot fired from real emotion. Punk isn't chasing Seth's title, he's chasing his identity. He wants to prove that Seth Rollins is just a corporate echo with better music. And Seth knows that if Punk wins even once, the narrative changes forever. Is Seth fighting Punk, or fighting the fear that Punk might be right? Because once fans start questioning who's authentic, WWE loses its tightest grip. That's why all of this feels dangerous. Oba Femi rising too fast, Drew McIntyre pushed too far, Cena watching silently, contracts being rejected, CM Punk tearing at the foundation. This isn't a storyline, it's pressure building. So here's the final question I want you to answer honestly. Who breaks first? Is it Drew unleashing hell? Is it WWE tightening control? Is it Seth cracking under Punk's words? Or is it a locker room realizing they don't have to play by the rules anymore? Drop your answer in the comments. Share this with someone who still thinks WWE is business as usual, because it's not. This isn't just ring rumble. This is a warning. And when the explosion hits, you'll remember who saw it coming, because warnings are only ignored right before history changes. And make no mistake, WWE is standing at the edge of a moment that will be talked about years from now. Not because of one match, not because of one promo, but because too many egos, too much power, and too many unfinished grudges are colliding at the same time. Let's talk about the locker room, the part fans never see. Right now, everyone is watching Oba Femi, not with admiration, but with calculation. Veterans are asking themselves if he'll jump Drew McIntyre, who's next? Younger talent is asking, why not me? That's how influence spreads. Not through championships, through fear and boldness. If you were a young star backstage, would you follow Oba's path or avoid it? Because WWE has always survived by keeping the hierarchy clear. You wait your turn, you respect the ladder. Oba just kicked that ladder over. And Drew McIntyre? Drew is walking proof of what happens when someone feels cheated by time. This isn't 2020 Drew anymore. This is a man who believes the world owes him violence. And when that belief takes hold, logic disappears. When Drew finally snaps, it won't be flashy, it'll be ugly. And then there's John Cena looming over all of it like a judge who hasn't spoken yet. People forget this, but Cena has always returned during instability. When the locker room gets loud, when respect gets blurred, when the audience starts choosing sides too aggressively, Cena doesn't just show up, he course corrects. But what if the system he used to protect is the very thing he's questioning now? That's the terrifying part. Because a Cena who believes in WWE is unstoppable, but a Cena who's disappointed in WWE, that's something we've never seen. And while everyone is distracted by legends and rising monsters, WWE executives are staring at spreadsheets and panicking. That rejected contract isn't just a headline, it's a precedent. Wrestlers talk, agents talk more. And once talent realizes leverage exists, loyalty becomes conditional. Do you think WWE responds with better opportunities or harsher consequences? Because history tells us companies don't loosen control when threatened, they clamp down, and that always creates casualties. Now circle back to CM Punk and Seth Rollins, because this feud might be the spark that ignites everything. Punk doesn't just want Seth's spotlight, he wants to rewrite the story WWE told without him. Seth, on the other hand, is the success story WWE built to prove Punk wrong. That makes every exchange feel like a personal insult. One man fighting to expose the system, the other fighting to prove the system works. Whose victory would hurt WWE more? Because no matter who wins, something breaks. Either Punk's criticism gets validated or Seth becomes the symbol of silencing dissent. And fans? Fans are already choosing sides. Loudly, aggressively, emotionally. That's how you know WWE is losing narrative control. This isn't just about Ring Rumble level chaos, this is a powder keg. And every segment, every surprise return, every shocking decision is another spark thrown carelessly into the fire. So I'll leave you with this and think about it before you comment. When the dust settles, who will WWE regret underestimating the most? Oba Femi, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, or the fans themselves? Because once fans stop accepting the script, the ring becomes a battlefield. Comment your answer. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, you're not watching wrestling anymore, you're watching a takeover in progress.